Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 13, Episode 16. And let me just start off by saying this. I am officially over it. No reason for any of these ladies to still be discussing what did or did not happen in Episode 10. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm sick of the foolishness. Marlo, you made a complete fool of yourself. And I think that your time as a B character friend of has run its course. Thank you for your services, but I don't really think that you're needed because the way you were grasping at straws, it was really pathetic to watch. Porsha, the carrying on that you did with Kenya, I was over it as well. I'm just really finding this cast to be just so insufferable. I'm like, we need a complete revamp of Atlanta. I mean, I don't think that any of these women are good for the show anymore. I want them to recast everyone. And it's apparent that production has been editing a lot of stuff, so it's really even more confusing what's being said behind the scenes. All in all, I'm just over it. And I found myself really having to rewatch this episode a few times because, one, I was too distracted the first time it came on because of the Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley Brothers verses that was on. Can I tell you something? That verses gave me everything I needed and more. 4 hours of just perfection. Minus Steve Harvey and all of his stories, but other than that, it was pure gold, okay? Like, I was getting my entire life. But I digress. I definitely chose tea today, if you didn't notice, because I didn't feel like this episode was that deserving of my good champagne. So, without further ado, let's just jump right on into it, okay? Because we don't have a minute to spare, and I don't really want to talk so long about these ladies because they really got on my nerves. So we start the episode off with Drew being ahead of the ladies. She's at some restaurant and we can tell that it's a big secret, a big surprise that she can't wait for the other ladies to see. And then we see the other ladies leaving the hotel. They're getting in the Sprinter and they are headed to meet Drew. And Porsha decides to bring up how tired she is from the conversation that she had with Marlo. And I was like, I know that we're on a show, and I know that production probably puts you up to do this, but Porsha, you shouldn't have. This scene was just so stupid to me. Why call attention to the fact that you and Marlo had a discussion that obviously had something to do with Kenya and the whole dynamic between the three of you guys? There was no reason for you to bring that up. So, of course, everybody's ears perk up, like, what conversation? What are you talking about? So then I think it was Cynthia who goes on to ask, well, Porsha, why were you so tired about the conversation? Like, what did you guys talk about? So Porsha gives a really weak response about how they just had to tie up some loose ends. And it's like, again, there was no reason for you to bring that up in front of the rest of the ladies, especially when you guys are there to have a good time. I really hate the dumb stuff because it's like, in real life, nobody's doing that. If me and you are having some issues, and I'm also having some issues with a few of the other ladies on the group, but me and you went off to talk about it, I'm not going to say in front of everybody, oh, you know, that conversation that we had last night, just the two of us, that really drained me. Like, who's doing that? Like, it's just so stupid. I'm really getting tired of Porsha's antics, her immaturity has really just driven me up the wall. I'm so sick of it. So we see the ladies finally get to their destination. They hop off the Sprinter and they meet Drew. Drew leads them into the kitchen and we see the famed and the fabulous Big Freedia, the Queen Diva. You already know. I had to do it. I just had to do it, okay? When I tell you, I love Big Freedia so much. So to see Big Freedia on my screen, I got my entire life. Like, I was squealing, okay? So they're all like, oh my gosh, it's Big Freedia. Like, this is so dope. Like, they're so excited. They're all geeked. Drew lets us know that, I think she said her cousin is best friends with Big Freedia and does Big Freedia's makeup. So that's how she got that connection. So I was like, now, although this trip hasn't really been giving luxury, I will say that this is definitely the highlight of the trip, okay? An evening with Big Freedia, that is a big deal. So, Drew, you get a few points for that, and that alone. So the ladies get to work in the kitchen. Big Freedia is teaching them how to make some booty popping potatoes. And those potatoes look so good. And then they're making some margaritas. I was like, okay, if I could be a fly on that wall, because I know I would have been getting my entire life, all right? Big Freedia, if you see this video, let me know how much you charge for a cooking lesson one-on-one with you, because I will pay top dollar. I will fly myself out to New Orleans and I want to meet you and cook with you and have a good key with you, okay? So, like, that was just everything. They're having fun, and then Big Freedia is teaching them how to twerk, and so they're twerking. Porsha starts, getting real low, and I was crying when Big Freedia was like, oh, you got them Megan knees, because we all know that Megan Thee Stallion has knees, okay? That woman can go to town, all right? So everybody's having a good time. We see some of the ladies, Cynthia, Shamia, Drew, LaToya, they're all in the next room setting the table with Big Freedia. While they're setting the table, we see that Kenya, Candy, and Marlo are still in the kitchen, and Candy is asking Marlo what all was discussed when she had that conversation with Porsha. Now, Candy, I have to get on you too, because you love to act like you're this peacemaker and, you're just the voice of reason, you're so level-headed. But honestly, there was no reason for you to probe Marlo about her and Porsha's discussion the day before. It didn't concern you. And why bring up drama and mess when y'all are having a good time? Like, I just don't understand why these ladies always have to bring a whole lot of foolishness when they go out. Like, there was no need for y'all to have this discussion. Like, you already know that when you do that, now the dinner's going to be awkward and somebody's going to bring up something to make everything go south. I don't understand why you couldn't have waited till y'all got back to the hotel to have these conversations. But again, y'all like to operate out of stupidity. And like I said in the beginning of this recap, I'm really tired of all of y'all's antics. So Marlo tells them what they were talking about, and then she goes on to drop the bomb that, yes, she asked Porsha the $60 million question about did she sleep with Bolo, like was it all true? So Candy says that Marlo and Kenya need to leave Porsha alone. So Marlo goes on to ask Candy, well, Candy, what do you know? Like, did she do it or not? Just set the record straight. And Candy says, I'm not going to speak on it. Like, so stop asking. And it's like, well, girl, you already spilled the beans like 4 episodes ago when you were talking to Don Juan. So you might as well have just come clean and said that she did it. I mean, we all know that Porsha did it. That's why this is so annoying to even watch, to see them all go back and forth about this. Like, it is what it is. It happened. Like, it's just very aggravating. I'm so ready for this reunion. I really am. I just found this episode to be just so stupid. So Kenya goes on to say, look, she did do it, okay? I'm not going to be made out to be the villain. Like, she did it. It is what it is. I'm not going to say it again. So now they all had to join the rest of the ladies and Big Freedia in the dining room. And Big Freedia blesses the food. They start eating. And there's this awkward silence. So Marlo decides she's going to break the tension-filled silence by asking Big Freedia one of the stupidest questions I've ever heard. And a question so painfully obvious that it was about Porsha. So Marlo's going on and on and on with this question. Everybody's like, girl, like, really? Are you really doing this right now? Big Freedia says, if I were you, I would just leave it alone, child. Like, I don't really do all this conflict and drama. Just leave it alone. So now Porsha is getting annoyed, and she's like, were you talking about me? Because that sounded an awful lot like me. Candy then interrupts and says, Marlo, nobody asked you to be in the middle of anything, to be honest with you. Like, you're really inserting yourself in all of this mess, and it's really just unnecessary. And it is. So now we see Kenya asking Marlo, now girl, why are you in it? Like, this has nothing to do with you. Marlo keeps saying y'all need to address each other regarding Kenya and Porsha. She's getting angry. She says, you know what? I'm leaving this dinner. Y'all are all fake bitches. Like, she keeps calling them fake. And it was so funny because as she was leaving, she got turned around and then had to go back in the dining room. Now she's asking how does she leave the restaurant because she doesn't want to be around them. I said, girl, you might as well just sat down and finish the dinner because you look really stupid getting up and then not knowing where you were going and getting turned around. Child, everybody is confused. Shamia is even piping up like, girl, I don't know why you're so emotional about a situation that has nothing to do with you. Like, make it make sense. This episode really wore me thin in every direction. I know I've said that like 100 times already, but again, y'all, like this episode was definitely one of the stupidest episodes that I've seen. It was just like, you've got to be kidding me. But I digress. I have to say, that would be a really good idea for a mug, don't you think? But let's just get on with the recap. Drew is upset by this whole entire fiasco. She's embarrassed the same way I was embarrassed watching them all make fools of themselves. She goes outside to check on Marlo, see how she's doing. A few of the other ladies, including Kenya, come out to see how Marlo's feeling as well. And Marlo's like, look, I'm going back to the hotel. Bring me some food back. And so they go back inside, and it's more drama. Kenya relays the message, and in relaying the message, she says Porsha's name. Porsha then says, stop saying my name, keep my name out of your mouth. And I was like, but Kenya wasn't saying anything bad about you. She was literally only saying your name to relay what Marlo was saying while she was outside. And then when she started calling Kenya a bitch, it was like, that was really unnecessary. And I was actually very glad when Kenya checked her and was like, girl, I would care about you calling me a bitch if I respected you, but I don't respect you, so it's cool. Like, call me whatever you'd like. And then we see Candy interrupt by saying, look, what difference does it make if someone did have sex with a stripper? This whole thing is just stupid in itself because it's like, we shouldn't still be talking about it. Like, this wasn't that big of a deal. Everybody is grown. Let everybody do what they want to do. It's not that big of a deal. Hell, I would have had a good time with Bolo if I had been there. But I would have owned it. Because it's like, Porsha, you being so defensive is a dead giveaway that something did go down. And you're not realizing how stupid you look by not just owning up to it. And I know a lot of you Porsha fans like to say, well, she doesn't have to own up to it. I agree. But if the cat has already been out the bag, if they already know, you might as well just own up to it and just say, you know what, I did it and I had a great time and I would do it again. So now Kenya's getting really annoyed and she's like, I just don't understand why you're lying about having sex with him. Like, just own it. Porsha is being sarcastic and she's just trying to deflect. And nothing gets resolved. Big Freedia is over it. Like, Big Freedia was back in the kitchen like, okay, like, y'all got me effed up if you think I'm gonna be in here watching y'all argue about some stupidity.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I had fun.
I gotta be good.
And that was the dinner scene. And we see the ladies are back at the hotel and they're all paired off just talking about what went down. We see Kandi and Marlo, and I think it was Kandi's room. And Kandi's like, Marlo, I just want to know, like, what is going on? Like, I want to get to the bottom of why things have gone left now between you and Porsha. So Marlo says, I want nothing to do with Porsha. She's shown herself to be a liar. And then Marlo goes on to say, have you known Porsha to lie? And Kandi admits that in her dealings with Porsha, Porsha does have a habit of lying. So Kandi pretty much just said it outright that Porsha is pretty much lying about this whole thing and she did have sex with Bolo, but she's trying to save face. So there you have it, folks. And I don't care what anybody says, Kandi is still holding a grudge against Porsha for what she did to her season 9 with Phaedra. She's put on a smile and she has forgiven Porsha, but she really hasn't, and she's getting a kick out of seeing Porsha be outed as the liar. So now we see that it is the next day and it is pouring down rain, okay? Like, you can't go anywhere. The ladies are just stuck in their hotel rooms. We see Drew and Cynthia chatting, and Cynthia makes a remark about how Drew was looking real auntie-ish. And I said, oh yeah, Drew always looks auntie-ish. That outfit that she had on at the dinner with Big Freedia, it was awful. Drew, I'm going to need you to hire a stylist if you come back for season 14 because your confessional looks are not hitting. Your looks for when you go to the events are not hitting at all. I'm going to need you to get it together and get it together swiftly. Please. And I saw your reunion look. No, ma'am. But I digress. Drew lets Cynthia know that Porsha has skipped town. She is back in Atlanta. And Cynthia's like, what? So next we see LaToya in Kenya's room and they're chatting. LaToya lets it be known that Porsha has fled to Atlanta, and Kandi also dipped out and is back in Atlanta as well. So Kenya's like, what? Like, Kandi's back in Atlanta, didn't tell me that she was leaving? And we see a clip of LaToya and Kandi talking, and Kandi's letting her know that she's leaving because she wants to get ahead of the storm. We see Kenya laughing at the fact that not only did Porsha leave, but she left without her best friend, Shamia. And I found that very comical too. I said, But then I said, who knows? Maybe Shamia wanted to stay because she wanted the camera time and she also just wanted some more time away from her baby and her husband. So we don't know how that whole thing played out. But again, I digress. So next we see a scene with Marlo, Kenya, and Cynthia. They're all chatting about what the F happened at that dinner last night. Marlo blames her piss poor behavior on the alcohol, and they're just like, girl. So Kenya says, look, I'm going to say this right now. I do not care about what happened on the South Carolina trip. Like, this whole thing is pulling us into a rabbit hole, and it's like we shouldn't still be talking about this. Like, enough already. So, child, we can just wrap this scene up because they were talking, and then they were going to grab some food from Drew's room. the lights go off because of the awful storm / hurricane that's taking place. And they're all like screaming, like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? And needless to say that the trip pretty much ended on a very sorry note. Drew, baby, come close. All that talk about this luxury trip, but why weren't you and the girls at the Ritz or the Four Seasons? But again, I digress. So next, we see the ladies all back in Atlanta. Drew is talking about the trip to Ralph. They're in the hot tub together. Then we see Candy on set of the new movie that she's doing, and she's talking to Clifton Powell. Can I tell you something? He plays a villain in every single movie. Like, it drives me nuts, but I digress. So then we see Kenya talking to her cousin. They're talking about the election, and they're excited. And next we see Cynthia at home. She is watching MSNBC, CNN, child, about the presidential election results. And she's like, thank you, Jesus. Biden won. Like, won't he do it? And I was saying the same exact thing, okay? So we see Porsha ring the doorbell. She comes on in and they are toasting with a glass of champagne to Biden winning the election. So now they go on over to the couch and they start discussing the New Orleans trip. Cynthia says once again how she was so embarrassed how they showed out at dinner in front of Big Freedia. Porsha says that she can't move past this with Marlo because Marlo has truly shown her true colors and she is over it. So while they're talking, Candy FaceTimes Cynthia and Cynthia's like, hey girl, I'm here with Porsha. Porsha says hello and they start discussing the grand opening of Candy and Todd's new steakhouse called Blaze. So Candy's like, well, it's not really a grand opening. It's more of a tasting for all my friends and family. So I really hope that you guys are going to be there. Cynthia's like, yeah, we're going to be there. Can't wait. Excited. They get off the phone with her. And then we see Porsha and Cynthia doing a PSA for Black-owned businesses who have been suffering during the pandemic. So we see them doing multiple takes of that. And that's the end of that scene. So now we get to the final scene of the night. And it is Candy and Todd arriving to their tasting at Blaze. And I will say that Blaze looks like a very pretty restaurant. The drinks look really good. One of the servers was offering them, I think it was like a blood orange mimosa. And I was like, ooh, that looked amazing. And you know that Candy doesn't really drink, so she turned it down. But Todd was like, yeah, I'll take one. So they're just looking at everything. Was it me or did Candy seem extra dry in this scene? Like, Candy already does not have a personality to me, but she just seemed like she was in a really bad mood. I was like, did you and Todd get into it prior to this tasting? Because she just didn't seem like she was happy to be there. But maybe that's just her. But I was like, you just seem a lot drier than you usually are, Candy. But I digress. So we see Drew and Ralph get there. They're really excited. They're complimenting Todd and Candy on their new business. Drew is remarking about how it's a blessing that they can open up a really nice restaurant in the middle of the pandemic. And she's just really happy for them. We see Mama Joyce and Candy's aunts arrive as well. I can't stand Mama Joyce at all, so I just roll my eyes when she came on my TV screen, child. So then we see Cynthia and Porsha arrive. They're excited. They're sitting down. And then we see Kenya arrive. Porsha's making a face because you know that they don't get along. And next we see Marlo showing up. And she's like, hey guys, what's up? And Porsha is just really aggravated to see the sight of Marlo. And we see that that's where the episode ends. Guys, thank you so much for watching my recap. And before you go, I know you want a But I Digress mug from the doll. Yes, the doll finally has merchandise. And when I tell you guys, I have been working on this for months. I'm so excited. How cute when you're drinking your coffee or your tea It's like you're going to be drinking it with me. But if you would like to purchase a But I Digress mug, information is down below in the description box, and you too can have a fabulous But I Digress mug from the doll, okay? I told y'all I was giving y'all some merch, okay? And you guys already know what to do. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.